Welcome! The Daily Exchange, guys. We're here from Consensus again. We're here with Stephen Nerayoff from Casper Labs. We're talking all about CBC and the new token as well. See you guys in a sec. All right, guys, we're back. We're here with Stephen Nerayoff. Welcome to the Daily Exchange.
Great to be here.
Yeah, and so you're the co-founder with Vlad Zamfir about Casper Labs. Tell us about Casper.
So Casper is a new blockchain. It's native that we are being launching hopefully later this year. It's based on Vlad Zamfir's CBC Casper. We're super excited about it. And we think it's got some really unique properties that sets it apart from other blockchains.
Okay, and how did the name come about? Where did Casper come from?
It's an interesting story. There was a problem. Not getting too technical, that Vlad was able to solve, and the problem was the greediest, heaviest observable subtree, and that's GHOST. So there was the ghost problem, and this was causing an issue with maintaining decentralization while still keeping scalability at a high level. Vlad found a friendly solution to this ghost problem, and hence the name Casper.
Okay, now so Casper is obviously trying to become a proof of stake solution for Ethereum, potentially in the past. Is your solution, it's called CBC, the solution, is that going to be better than Ethereum?
Yeah, no, I think probably at the end state of Ethereum, they may end up at CBC as well. They have this transitory one that's more FFG, and it's, I wouldn't say it's necessarily better. It's, they're taking a transitory approach to get it to it because they're proof of work, moving to proof of stake. So they're being very careful about how they do that, and they're also building out layer 2 at the same time. We're launching a native chain that's fully proof of stake, at the outset. But it's interesting because there's a lot of collaboration. There's Vlad's out from Ethereum. I was there back in the day, and there was a bunch of other folks. There's a ton of collaboration between the researchers, and so we're personally super supportive. We're rooting very much for Ethereum to do really well, and if Ethereum does well, the ecosystem will do well and will do well.
Mm-hmm. And so how good is CBC? Is it how much better is it than the FFG solution?
So, the FFG solution, I'm not sure is the end solution. It's a transitory state, but I'll tell you how much it's better than, why we think it's better than the state of the art right now. Every single proof of stake solution out today that has shown an ability to scale has done that through some form of centralization. And so there's, let's say you've got delegated proof of stake or whatever, and it's not that I'm saying anything negative about those, but if you believe that this is the internet of value, and you believe that high value items are going to go on these chains, and if something has a form of centralization, there's always things like possibility of collusion, and censorship resistant is maybe not so censorship resistant. And so here, what Vlad did with his amazing breakthrough, it's actually a Byzantine fault tolerance breakthrough that was decades old and trying to be solved, was he figured out a way to actually scale at Visa-like levels at full decentralization. I mean, it's a complete game changer, right? It's pretty much the holy grail that people said we could never have. The three parts: security, decentralization, and scalability of a blockchain. In fact, this is a super secure blockchain. The way it's designed. Even if somebody attacks the blockchain, it actually makes the blockchain stronger, right? So negative incentive to attack the blockchain. And I think one of the reasons we haven't seen things like the killer dApp, right? People saying, "Oh, blockchain's not real." We haven't seen the killer dApp. I think you have to take it into account with the infrastructure that we've had, the layer 1 protocols. If you have something that's doing, a very low transactions per second, are people designing the killer dApp for that? No, they're designing something that's more kind of proof of concept for that environment, because they're not designing something that can do 10,000 transactions per second. On the other hand, if you've got something that's got a form of decentralization, it's a proof of stake that scales. Is somebody designing a killer dApp? And I'm not, and I don't mean something that goes viral like a game, but I mean like a killer dApp that's the Internet of Value. Something like decentralized finance and one of those things that will put a lot of value on chain. They're probably not going to build it for an environment that has a decentralized component that allows it to scale. So either one of these environments hasn't really allowed the killer dApp to kind of emerge. We think that a technology like what we have will allow people to design the killer dApp, because we're saying, all right, you can go to Visa-like levels on layer 1, right? Layer 2 is important too, and we'll have layer 2 and even layer 3, right? So, if you think about it, Visa is like layer 1, and then Venmo, PayPal, Square, these are all layer 2. They're great, but they wouldn't work if Visa worked at 5 transactions per second, right? You'd be batching everything up there, and that's kind of, you wouldn't be trusting Visa. So we think that the killer dApps that we're looking for that really explode blockchain can come through this technology. So not only they'll design it, but it actually can get adoption, because the users of that will feel, wait, you know what? This is fully decentralized, and this is not a philosophical argument. It's fully decentralized, just like people trust Bitcoin because it's fully decentralized. If Bitcoin had a centralized component to it at layer 1, people wouldn't trust it, right? And it's mostly value transfer, so the speed isn't as important at this point in time, but this will allow that to emerge now.
And so are you guys, have you got a token or something like gas? You got something coming out for Casper?
Absolutely. So there's a network token, very similar to other layer 1 blockchains. Ours is called ECTO, ECTO, and it functions as the fuel of the system. So it's similar to what you've seen in like Ethereum and some other examples. Then there's gas in the system too. That's called Plasm. The gas is Plasm, and so those are kind of the two things that we've named right now. And the chain was going to be called Casper Labs.
Okay, so ectoplasm. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, so that's a little bit. I mean, if you saw maybe the Ghostbusters movies, there was one more recently with the females. Okay. So that's kind of what the ghosts leave behind, and the trace they leave behind. So, you had the friendly ghost problem that was solved here. We've got Casper the friendly ghost, nice. And so this is an inside baseball joke that people on blockchain may appreciate, but long term, might be more of a trivia question.
Gotcha. Okay, now so with Casper Labs, are you guys launching a token sale or something, or how are you funding this?
Yeah, so our intent is to do what is an IEO, but right now we have been 100% self-funded. Myself and other co-founders have funded us ourselves. We did bring on some investors in the company, in the parent company. So it's been privately funded 100%. The IEO will take place and will be utilized to kind of further enhance the ecosystem and do research and collaboration with other chains too. I mean, we're very open and are working actively with a number of other projects.
Okay, and it's proof of stake to begin with. When do you think this token sale or IEO might happen?
I'm not prepared to announce that just yet, but it's probably not in the long term. We're at the point where technically we can do it, and so it's a matter of kind of timing and watching the market and seeing when's the appropriate time. But it's very important that we get tokens out because we are proof of stake. And so it's less actually about raising the money. We're not that much concerned about the money. We're more focused on making sure that prior to launch, because with pure proof of stake, we actually need people to be validators to bond and stake position in order to secure the network. And the network's only as secure as the value of the stakes that are in there.
Okay. Now, in terms of, I guess, Casper Labs, if you were to sum it up in one sentence, what's sort of the reason why you think people are going to start using it and start adopting it?
It's the one, we believe that this is a unique technology that allows people to trust it fully and to use it in a way that scales, right? So put it in just kind of layman's terms, I can trust putting my value on this chain, just like I trust leaving my Bitcoin, right? I mean, or whatever it is, but on a decentralized or Ethereum today, right? And these are the two chains that are fully decentralized that people have a lot of trust in, but they don't scale right now. So this, is that added ability to now I can trust it, but I also can use applications that maybe millions of other people are also using, right? And we can all use it at the same time, And so that just hasn't happened in blockchain. So it's kind of, I think we hope this will be a watershed moment, and we also hope that other people see the technology and they'll utilize it for their purposes.
Stephen, is CasperLabs Ethereum 2.0?
Yeah, I mean, this, I can't speak for that. What I can say is this was a solution that Vlad initially created as a scaling solution for Ethereum. Probably Ethereum ends up getting here if they want to go 100% proof of stake. So they end up at CBC, and they have this amazing community. I'm part of the community. I love Ethereum, and so to answer it maybe more succinctly, we may end up being the technologies or similar, though keep in mind, this is our interpretation of CBC Casper. It's actually not one protocol, it's a family of protocols. And Vlad is a mathematician, so our developers, who are the most experienced in the world in CBC, they're interpreting his formulas and writing that into Scala, into code, right? And making our code base out of that. And anybody else doing it, whether it's Ethereum or anybody else that does it, and they could fork us potentially, it's open source, or they could have their own interpretation. Somebody may say, all right, we don't agree with the way they did it, we see Vlad's work and we want to interpret it this way. And there's multiple interpretations of it, so it's not, there's no one right answer. But I do know that there's a lot of synergies, and especially in terms of the research side, in particular with Ethereum, other ones as well, where there's a lot of, we'd like to help them as much as possible, and I think they can help us in certain ways, and I think it'd be a good relationship.
Awesome stuff. Stephen, thanks so much for joining us on the Daily Exchange.
Thank you.
Appreciate it a lot.
Appreciate it.
All right, guys, that's Stephen from the Casper Labs. Check it out, Ectoplasm. You heard it first right here. Catch you guys. Yeah. Oh, wow, that bell.